Hello, and welcome back to the Peptides for Women podcast. I'm Jennifer Woodward, and today I have two very special guests with me, the Neals, Kayla and Mike. Now, you guys remember Kayla from a previous podcast. I actually got introduced to my current telehealth company through Kayla, and I have been obsessed with the results, obsessed with the company. And to tell you the truth, I'm a little obsessed with Kayla. P.S. Have you even seen her glutes on social media? If not, go over and give her a follow, Kayla Johnson Fitness on Instagram. Now, today we are bringing Mike into the conversation as well. You guys heard from my husband, Bo, a couple weeks ago, and the journey that we were on together with peptides. It is so fun to be able to bring Mike into this conversation as well because he has seen Kayla's peptide journey and he's been on his own peptide journey. And a lot of us women have done a lot of crazy shit over the last 10 or 20 years. So we're a little nervous to tell our husbands the new round of crazy shit we're doing. For me and for Kayla, this did involve peptides. Now, once we brought our husbands on board, they have been peptide proponents and have not looked back. So I'm so excited to share the story today of Mike and Kayla Neal. Let's go ahead and get started. Will you guys introduce yourselves?
Yeah, want me to go first?
Mhm.
I mean, that introduction, I just want like, can you just follow me around all day and introduce me into my world? I would love that. So, how much of my story should we talk about? I mean, I've been on the podcast before. I mean, I'm a huge peptide fan. I'm a perimenopause weight loss expert, and I help women do all the lifestyle pieces of how we have to restructure and really reframe. Figured it out through all of my own failing forwards, if you will. And I found peptides because I was struggling. I pared back my cardio. I picked up weight training even more intensely, was really paying attention to my nutrition, protein, and fiber. I got hormonally optimized. I was praying that was the answer. And I just found myself in this space where I was stuck. All the work that I was doing wasn't showing up. And I'm excited to have this conversation with you today, Jennifer. So thank you for having us, by the way, because what I really want to talk about is, of course, Mike's journey with peptides, because it's been so profound, but also to the importance of the person that we're living with, that sharing that these struggles are real. And I found myself in a space of trying to figure it out. I mean, listen, I've been in fitness for 32 years. I've led from the front always. I've never struggled with my fitness. I've always shown up to it, but I've never struggled. And so to find myself in this space of struggling, I was suffering in silence. I don't know if anybody who's listening can relate to that, but it's a very lonely place to be, coupled with being in the fitness industry and not communicating to the person that I was living with and sharing my life with about how much I was struggling. I was embarrassed. I was gaining weight. I didn't know why I was gaining weight. I felt like I was failing and I didn't know where to turn next. So what I really want to communicate as we're talking today is the importance of just sharing with the people or the person that you're sharing your life with about how you are struggling. And it's just so important to get that support. If I could do it all over again, which is always a hindsight, right? I would have shared, that year of struggle. It was probably an entire year. It was definitely clouded by COVID. I was 44 when all of this was starting to go on, 44 like through 46. And we had a lot of moving parts. I was a small business owner with a spin studio that had only been open for 1 year. Between Mike and I, we have 6 children. We brought 5 of those 6 kids home. It was controlled, I'm going to use loosely. It was controlled chaos. And I was struggling, but I was easily blaming all of those struggles on COVID. So anyway, that went on and on and on. It was a chaotic time. And when I finally said something to Mike, is actually when I found the peptides. I'm giggling when he said, here's the next crazy shit we're gonna try on. Knowing that he would support me, that's the crazy part. I'm married to somebody who supports every single thing that I do. He challenges me when it comes to certain things, but he definitely supports me. And when I said to him how I was feeling and all the things that were going on with me, and I'm sure I was different. I mean, he can speak to that. I'm sure he knew, it's like the elephant in the middle of the room, right? But he supported it. And when I was looking into peptides, which was almost 2 years ago, I mean, you want to talk about the land of the unknown. I couldn't find a physician to even speak the same language with me. I was doing clinical research. I knew what I was talking about, but I couldn't get anyone to get on board. And so it was a really hard conversation to have. I love how far we've come now in the peptide conversation. But anyway, when I took that leap, he was behind me because I'm sure he was thinking like, whatever it takes, sister, to get this bus turned around and get you feeling good again. But the peptides have changed our lives. And for me personally, the lifestyle part of what we do is so critically important. I help women lay this foundation. I know you do the same work too. In your practice, these foundational pieces, they cannot be cut out, right? It's a recipe. There's so many ingredients. We can't cut any of these things out. But insulin resistance and perimenopause is real. It's real, and we're not talking about it. So, anyway, my peptide journey started with GLPs. Of course, as I'm injecting myself in the kitchen, my husband's like, okay, what are you doing over there? Like, what's happening? And so he got super curious about all the things around peptides. GLP-1 peptides were just like the gateway to open up to this world that we really had no idea about. My
I
intros
love that.
always take way too long.
Sounds
I,
great.
it,
Oh,
you know, it's like, I mean, it's like introduce yourself 25 minutes later.
it was a very comprehensive and helpful intro. I love it. And I want to talk about the interpersonal dimensions of your peptide relationship, but let's get to know Mike a little bit first.
Yeah.
Mike, introduce yourself. Tell us about your history, your background. I know you're a college athlete, so obviously you've been fit for a very long time. We'd love to hear about you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I kind of consider myself a normal kind of guy. I have a great job. I work in the dental industry in sales. I love being a dad to all the kids, but like you said, I was a college athlete, so I was fortunate enough to play those sports and be fit, and that was just kind of my routine when I was younger. So with that becomes, you're kind of used to all the activity that you go through. So, when I went on to the working world and on to start a family, I kind of carried that with me. So being fit was just part of who I was. So I was the guy that was at the gym at 4:30 so I could get it in before the workday started. So, I've always been really in tune with myself and my health and fitness, and it's an important part of my
Mhm.
journey. Um, and like Kayla mentioned, the peptide journey for me started by watching her. I had my own experience where I was doing things that, as my, age kind of crept up a little bit. I'm 56 now. So somewhere around 49, 50, I think for me, I started feeling those effects when I was going to the gym and when I was looking at why am I so tired or why am I constantly sore from my workouts the day
Mhm.
before. And so naturally, I thought, well, I'm going to go get my testosterone checked, and that's going to fix everything, like men do. We know it declines with age. So I did that. I went down and I gave a bunch of blood, and the doctor comes back and tells me that my levels are like a 30-year-old. So I'm thinking, here I am puffing my chest out, thinking, this guy just told me I'm performing like a 30-year-old, but I was super dejected because I was thinking that was going to be the fix for me. And I think so probably the first time I started hearing about peptides and stuff was, by listening to podcasts, Joe Rogan, all these guys talking about it.
Mhm.
But, naturally, I thought, well, this is for the Hollywood type. This is for people to have access to these concierge doctors that they could get access to these things. I didn't think it was for me. And like Kayla mentioned, it was, she's the one that found it. I watched her as she went down this journey with perimenopause, and she was going through these struggles that at the beginning I didn't really know what they were. I just knew she was struggling. And she went down that rabbit hole for like a year trying to figure out what was happening with herself,
Mhm.
researching, studying, and all the things that she was doing. And she actually found the recipe that was working for her. And what she did is she then brought that recipe back to all of her clients with wild success. So for me, the outside looking in, I was watching all this stuff happen. And so I'm learning as she's going along. And then I started paying attention a little bit more and I'm thinking, well, wait a sec. So I've heard about these things. I know people are using them, but I didn't think I had access to them. You're telling me I could get access to peptides that are prescribed by a physician? And I think that was probably somewhere around the time when I was like, wait a sec, I got to get into these things and learn my own journey for these. I'm a trust but verify kind of guy, but I'm not afraid of change. So, I started using them myself, and that was kind of all from her doing of bringing them to us. So, yeah, I love the journey that we're on together,
Mhm.
and I'm grateful that she learned how to implement those into her program.
Amen, brother. I love this. It's totally exactly the same thing that Bo was saying. It's something he's kind of heard about in his periphery. Some podcasts have popped up, some posts have popped up, and it looks like it's kind of outside of the range of what, normal people would do.
Mhm.
But once you see the results that one of your loved ones is getting on some of these peptide stacks, it becomes so intriguing to you, and you just think, oh gosh, like can that be replicated for me? And I think that's the beauty of having couples on peptide therapy together is you get to learn and grow and see this remission of midlife symptoms at the same time, which is incredibly powerful and encouraging. I do want to talk more about your relationship and how that's impacted. But first, let's get into some of the nitty gritty. I want to know exactly the peptide stacks that both of you are on right now, and if that's changed anytime in the past year or so. Kayla, why don't you start?
So I started on semaglutide. That's what I had access to. Tirzepatide was definitely on the scene, but that was a harder conversation. I got my initial results on semaglutide, and then quite frankly, I connected with a company that had peptide options, which is really what I was looking for myself and for my clients. I didn't want to be pigeonholed into the semaglutide. I knew there were some low level side effects with it. It could be monitored with dosing, but still, I just would prefer to not deal with that. And so tirzepatide really was a home run. I didn't go on tirzepatide to get more results, to be honest. I learned by doing, and everything that I recommend is through my own experience. And so I went on tirzepatide for that exact reason. For me personally, semaglutide and tirzepatide felt the same. From case studies, we definitely see tirzepatide having way less of any kind of the side effects. So I highly recommend the tirzepatide. The peptide that I went on next was NAD for energy. That seems like a no-brainer. I think as we get older and our hormones decline and we're trying to re-establish balance, NAD is just so enticing. And so a lot of these peptides are done in cycles. So I'll do like an 8 week cycle and then I'll come out for 30 days. The next one that was really enticing to me was BPC 157 TB 500 for gut support. I think that we all need that. And also for any type of recovery inflammation. From there, GHKCU, which I'm talking a lot about skin. We're trying to heal this face. Skin, hair, nails, all the things that we want to get back as we get older. And then the newest on the table, which I'm so excited about, I'm on week 5. Well, not that one, is Testmorelin, Ipamorelin. I love the idea of taking something to support lean muscle. I love that women think it is so easy to build muscle. It is one of the hardest things that I work on. It's one of the hardest things I work on with my clients. If we maintain lean muscle, I want to have a parade. And so the ability to be able to take something that's the precursor to human growth hormone, something that's going to help with visceral fat, it's the killer for women in perimenopause and menopause. So to be able to have a peptide that addresses those two things, it's a home run. I tell women if we're going to start with two peptides, let's start with a GLP-1. Let's get that blood sugar under control and regulated, and then Testmorelin, Ipamorelin for women who are really going through these hormonal changes. I just think it's a game changer. So I love them all.
Current stack, pretty robust. I like it. What about you,
Yeah.
Mike?
Well, I started with the NAD and the BPC 157,
Mhm.
like I was saying, because I'd heard these podcasts of these guys having great results with this. So that was where I went first. So my starting routine was with the NAD, the BPC 157 was what I followed that with just for recovery because I am super active. I do work out regularly. I'm in the gym 5, 6 days a week. So I thought, well, this is going to be great because they talk about all these benefits of that. Pro athletes do it for recovery, stuff like that. So I was like, hey, I need this too. And then once I did those for, I guess like Kayla was saying, a cycle, the
Cycle.
first 3 months, I then added the Samorlin because from my standpoint, like I was originally saying, was when I thought, well, I'm going to get on testosterone, that's going to help with my mood levels, everything else. The lean muscle was important to me too, because it's a little bit harder as you get older to maintain that. Obviously things that digress for you. So I wanted to get on that just for the lean muscle, and that has been really good for me because I've felt some of the strength, I've felt some of the density come back, and then most recently it's the GHK. As you can see here, I had some facial injuries. I had a ladder that broke on me, and I came crashing down a little bit. So I had some real good scrapes. I mean, you can't see them right
It's
now.
7 days out from this. It's like almost gone.
8 days, 8 days.
Wow.
But
Okay.
I literally, so the ladder broke and I came down. I caught myself with my hands and my knees, but my face hit the ground in some rocks. So I was bleeding like crazy. I had cuts all over my nose. And if you saw the before picture the day of, and then, I broke my nose, got the black eyes, the cuts and everything, because I ordered that stuff right away and I was on the BP7. So I know that's for recovery. So
Mhm.
um, in a week, if you see up close, I mean, it's pretty remarkable
Mhm.
the recovery I've gone. Like you can't even see the cuts anymore, and they were there. And
Wow.
so something's working, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Very, very cool. So you're not on the exact same peptide stack. You're taking
No,
peptides for different reasons. They seem to be
yeah.
very complementary. And two of you, I mean, you're, like you said, you have 6 kids. You are both in the workforce. Like Kayla, you own your business. Mike, you are, working hard. We have to talk about some of the ways that peptides can, financially and practically impact a family, right? They're not cheap. What I do tell all my clients and my friends when they ask is I'm saving hundreds of dollars on worthless supplements that I no longer
Yep.
take because peptides actually work. So there's that. And there's also the fact that yes, you can source cheaper research grade peptides, but a lot of them are crap. They really are. I know
Mhm.
because I've used some of them, just like Kayla, before I was able to have access to quality peptides, I did not know where to go. I did not know where to look. So I used what I thought what I could use. And we don't know what some of the side effect profiles of these research grade peptides are. You have to constitute them yourself. You have to purchase your bacteriostatic water. You have to source your insulin needles, get your needles, make sure that you're dosing correctly. It really was exhausting. So there are those people who are fine with doing that, but they're also not under the oversight of a physician. These aren't they're not 503A, 503P compounded pharmacies. There are really
Mhm.
a lot of issues with sourcing a cheaper peptide. I could go to grocery outlet to get my groceries, and sometimes I do because I have a lot of children, but I would prefer to go to Sprouts or Whole Foods if I can. I really do want the best quality that I'm going to put into my body, just as I would do with my food. I like to do with my supplements and my peptides. And so this has been an area of discussion for Bo and I. We might be able to save a buck getting cheaper peptides, but is it worth it? So the
Mhm.
financial piece is there, and I'd love to hear how you guys talked about that because Kayla was already, introducing this hefty peptide stack probably when Mike came on board. How do you guys talk about that financial piece in your marriage and with your family?
Yeah, it's a really great question and something that does come up often with clientele. We prioritize where we spend money. I'm plain and simple. We do not eat in restaurants very often. It's very rare that we'll do that. It's just we're prioritizing where we're spending our money. And I agree with you. I think that especially once you realize that you're in these perimenopausal years, you go from knowing not very much about it to being thrown into an echo chamber of advice. Take this supplement, do this workout, try this protein shake, all with the promise that you're going to lose that belly fat and feel like yourself again. And so I think that we spend a lot of energy and a lot of money guessing, just throwing something up against the wall and seeing what sticks. And so my goal with women is to get them to streamline their approach, taking the basics of what we need from a supplementation level, which is very, very minimal, and shifting where we're spending our resources into peptides. In the grand scheme of things, I think it's such a small amount to invest in. And what's so perplexing to me, if I'm going to be totally transparent and honest, is
Please do.
why are we pinching pennies when it comes to our health?
Hmm.
Why are we budget cutting when it comes to longevity and quality of life? It just doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know how to have this conversation kindly because I want to strangle people. Like, you need to absolutely invest in this. This is all you have. And I really care now, stepping into 50 next month. I really care about how that feels. And at 49, thanks to peptide therapy, I feel the best I've ever felt. This run circles around 30. This run circles around 40. I didn't know what I was doing in my 20s. I was busy having babies. But like the way that I feel in my body now and the way that I look, and I'm sorry, but that matters, is the best I've ever been. And I really do owe that to peptides. So to me, that conversation falls really short. And I try to do my best to educate about how we need to reprioritize because we spend money on the dumbest shit. Go back and look at your Amazon orders, right? It's just like it's proof positive. We'll buy handbags and shoes and go on vacations and eat in expensive restaurants and have stuff delivered to our door, yet we won't prioritize our health. And I just try to have a lot of patience for that, and I don't.
Hmm. Well,
Yep. Yep.
it's important to,
Sorry,
yeah, I
sorry,
mean,
not sorry.
well, I mean, I think it's important to prioritize, obviously. I mean, what Kayla was mentioning is, when we're home, we're very routine with what we like to do. Like, of course, we like to go on vacation and we like to go do things
Yeah.
where we do eat out and we do things for social aspects. But during our normal routine, we're not going out to eat at restaurants because we like being home. We have busy lives with the work and everything else, and staying in touch with the kids. So we do that, but with that does come the savings of not going out to eat all the
Yeah.
time. So you understand the benefits of that. I mean, we do very well financially with what we do, so we're proud of that. But that doesn't mean we're just going to loosely go spend money
Mhm.
on random things. And so I think when you're smart about those things, it makes sense to do those. And you know, we're definitely not going to cut corners when it comes to our health because you know, and we've always been that way. I mean, I'm not gonna, if I, well, for the peptides themselves, like you were mentioning, the research ones, reconstituting those and mixing them yourself, to me, that's like, do I want to do that? We're getting peptides that are prescribed by a physician. To
Mhm.
me, that makes sense. And it's safe. It feels better that way. I'm not the type of guy that's going to go, second guess my heart surgeon or my brain surgeon or, travel across the country to get a facelift because it's $25,000 less to do it in some third world country. I'm not going to take that gamble to save a dollar. My health is too important. There's an old saying that people always talk about, like, oh, the kids first, this, that, whatever. But if mom ain't right, nobody's right. If she's not healthy, then you don't have a good family. If you're not, if the parents aren't right, how's the family going to be right? So
Mhm.
you got to prioritize yourself first and make sure that you're doing the best for you to be optimal. And this is something that we choose to put our resources towards. But I think not everybody has to take three or four of them at a time because, like you said, they are expensive. But
Yeah.
but maybe narrow it down to the ones that are going to best benefit you, and then invest in your health.
Yeah.
And that's too why it's a good idea. Go ahead.
That's it. Well, I was just going to echo what he said. It's a really good point. I'm not at all saying that this is an inexpensive route. I am not at all. I mean, this is absolutely an investment for sure. I'm just talking about where we spend frivolously and how that really we could really zoom out and reevaluate that and putting that just the importance of how we show up in the world. And I just want to give an amen to women. We are the anchors, we are the center point of our homes. And when we're falling apart, the world is falling apart around us.
Hmm.
And so putting ourselves, and I blame us, we're putting ourselves in the back of the line. And we have to stop doing that. We have to prioritize our own health and understand that when we are able to take care of ourselves, we can come fully into the world and have the ability to take care of others. And if we're constantly putting our needs last and not prioritizing what we need to feel our best, it's not a high quality of life.
Very true. I see it every day with my clients, especially in midlife women ages 40 to 55 who are finally
Yeah.
reaping all of the negative effects of overexercising, over dieting, being overstressed, being overtired, putting themselves, as you say, on the back burner for too long. It comes to a head and it gets real ugly real fast. That's something I want to discuss with you guys. Kayla, you said you felt very alone during your perimenopausal transition. Your hormones were falling apart. You gained weight. You weren't sure what was happening. And Mike, you didn't necessarily say the same thing, but you weren't understanding why your workouts weren't as effective, why your muscles, weren't as strong as they were 5 years ago, 10 years ago. So it can feel very isolating and very confusing to people people who are at the top of their games professionally, taking care of teenagers, probably aging parents, really pillars of the community. All things are functioning well, but your health is starting to fall apart. And that feels like your whole world is spinning out of control. So how did you guys deal with that individually? And then how did you come together using peptides, utilizing peptides to feel like maybe your marriage was stronger, your parenting was stronger, you show up better in your businesses? I'd love to hear a little bit briefly how that has worked for you guys in the past, 6 months, 12 months.
Well, it didn't work great in the beginning.
Yeah.
As I mentioned when I was talking, a little bit in the beginning, when you show up to fitness your whole life and all of those things work, and then all of a sudden they don't, it's very isolating. And just to repeat and echo what you said, like, yeah, there's so many moving parts, successful careers and kids and, doing all the things. And then this one piece that is so important just starts to fumble. Is so again, just going back to encouraging women to communicate and have that conversation. Now the commonality that we share with, like, even just remembering to take the peptides, right? Because we are on an aggressive
We
stat.
share them. It's funny. We'll put our stuff out. Hey, what are you
No,
taking
no, to
today?
be clear, he separates them in the refrigerator because I did want some of his BPC, and he's like, that is literally not your prescription. Do not touch it. So there's like a
My
stick
name.
of butter, stick
We're the
of
same way,
butter.
guys. They're expensive. I am going to hoard my own peptides. Thank you very much. We've gotten into a couple peptide fights about it, so I totally get it.
But it's like, it's been so fun. What's really neat about peptides is they're responsive. And that was surprising to me. And of course, I expected the GLP-1s to be responsive. That's why I was, signing up for it. I wanted to lose belly fat and feel like myself again. But NAD and BPC and GHKCU, like, these peptides are really responsive. And to be on this journey together, I'm no longer, I was terrified to turn 40. When I was 39, do you remember that?
Yeah.
I was just absolutely terrified to turn 40. And I'm coming into 50 with such a renewed excitement. And that feels so good. And that's really speaks to the journey that we're on and doing it together. I mean, feeling our best selves, being in an amazing marriage where we're communicating. It's always darkest before dawn. So, of course, that breakdown, and I'm just going to throw him under the bus just for a second. I'm sorry. But when I first came to him and told him that I was struggling, he suggested that I pick up running again. We were joking about that, I said. And I don't think I cried, but I just remember because at this point in the game, I knew that doing more and eating less was not the answer. And he, of course, bless his heart, didn't do it to hurt my feelings. What we don't know, we don't know.
But that's an interesting part though, right there, because part of the process of me learning through her journey, I think goes a lot to what you were saying about, women need to be honest with their husbands because I think naturally, like I was saying, as part of my story, like, I've never feared the age, the birthdays, whatever, because I've always felt I was ahead of the curve. I was always been fit and active and been able to do things, and I've been blessed with my health. So, 40, 50 were never a problem. But for men, I think I naturally thought, well, my testosterone fades over time because that's what happens. So we'll supplement that and we'll get better. And I think not understanding what women go through from a perimenopause standpoint is like, like a man's testosterone can fade away to where it's like women go off a cliff when their hormones change. I wasn't aware of that. So I didn't learn that until her and I started communicating and she started doing all of her research to what happens with women and how much different it is than what men go through. So I think me knowing that now just by her communicating with me and understanding what she goes through makes what we're doing now so much more productive because I know what she's been through. I know what other women are going through. So I see the changes. I understand what these peptides are doing. But that comes from the conversation of us just learning what the experiences are. And if you're not doing that, and if you're not communicating with the real aspects of what you're going through, what your journey is, you're never going to be on the same page. So for me, I'm blessed that I got to hear
Mm.
from her what the real struggles were so I could understand that because it is different than what my story was or what I was feeling or what I thought the fix would be for me.
Sure. And so many women have heard the exact same thing. You, in love, said to Kayla, they go to their doctors, they go to trusted medical professionals, and they say, I'm gaining weight, my energy's low, my hair is falling out, I'm getting belly fat, I don't know what's going on. And their doctors will tell them, eat less and exercise more. Why don't you pick up running? Because they don't understand that there's this complex hormonal degradation going on, that women's progesterone levels are falling, their estrogen levels are fluctuating wildly, their periods are starting to become closer together, farther apart. It's a very disorienting time for women, especially type A women who usually have everything together, to go into and start feeling like, again, everything's falling apart. So the fact that you guys were able to take that trauma, that difficult time, and turn it into something that made your marriage stronger and healthier, physically healthier, and it sounds like emotionally healthier, is very, very encouraging to people. I would say too, that's probably not most people's situations at this point, which might be why women are listening to this podcast, wanting to learn, how do people go on this peptide journey together? How can a married couple in a healthy and financially responsible way start a
Mhm.
peptide journey that is going to make their marriage healthier and stronger and really happier? When you feel better, like Kayla said, you can show up better. So, Mike, I have a question for you. What would you say to a husband who's watching his wife feel better, look better, but is still on the fence about trying peptides himself?
Well, I think, I, everybody's got to go through their own journey. I guess what I would ask is, what is it you're trying to accomplish? I mean,
Mhm.
obviously, as we get older, we have things that we're dealing with too. I mean, Father Time is undefeated. He's going to win. So how can we fight time as much as we can? How can we anti-age, do the things that will make us
Mhm.
feel better? And I think that's what I would say is, your health. I mean, biohacking is real in today's, modern world. We can do it. The science is there. So I think it's just a matter of understanding what you're trying to accomplish. I mean, not everybody has to, try and be Mr. Universe or, want to look like they're going to go, win a competition. But the goal is optimizing your health. It's feeling better. It's having more energy. It's also sharing the path that you're on. If someone's watching their wife do something, join the party. When you do things together, it's just better because also it helps when you have that commonality of what you're trying to accomplish, you understand what other people are going through more intimately because you're now sharing in that same journey with them. So, I mean,
Mhm.
my main goal was to support her because, you know, like she was saying earlier, yeah, there's a cost and I understand, it could be a burden on people, but I mean, I would probably give up golf and other ha hobbies I had to put that towards making my wife feel better because, you know, it would seem kind of selfish if I'm out there doing something or if I'm not contributing to making her happy at home because, if she's not happy and she doesn't feel good, I'm going to feel the grunt of that too. So, I mean, selfishly, I want her being her best so we can be the best together. I mean, and that was probably my goal was just to support what she was going through. And if she had something she wanted to try, and it made sense and she told me why, then, I'm all for it. Let's do it. Let's try it.
I think there's something to be said too. I like that you mentioned that. Like it depends on what you want to accomplish. I got a DM this morning from a client of mine who has she's lost weight on a GLP-1, and so her husband wanted to try peptides. And so anyway, she popped into my DMs and she said, I just want to let you know that he's lost 25 pounds in 4 months. He's utilized tirzepatide and NAD. His workouts have been totally upticked. He's feeling a million times better. He just wanted me to send you a note to say thank you.
It's
So, like
amazing.
a GLP wouldn't be something on, Mike's radar because he's got 9% body fat at 56 years old. But so many of the other peptides are so critically important for him. There's a lot of men in midlife who would love to lose a few lbs and, feel better and attack workouts. There's such an opportunity to feel so good in midlife and to just settle for settling.
Yeah.
I'm just not with it. There's just a better way. There's just a better way.
Yep, we've got new tools, and you guys know that's Bo's story too. College athlete, not unfit, but did end up going on a GLP-1 to regulate insulin and glucose, and lost 14 pounds. And this morning he walked out and he said, "Hey babe, I think those last 1 to 2 pounds of belly fat are starting to fade away," because he's on Ipamorel and Tesamorel, and I'm like, F&A, Bo. Good for you. So happy for you. It's so fun to get to celebrate each other's successes, and he just gets to show up differently.
Yeah.
Women, obviously, we are probably a little bit more emotional about our health, maybe the way we look, the way we feel. We're designed that way, but men have those thoughts and feelings too. They're
Mhm.
probably not going to be as vocal about it, but I can see when he, buttons up a pair of pants that didn't fit last year, when he is out, at the pool, he just feels more like himself. And I'm so happy for that for him. Happy for that for you guys. So, as we close up here, do you have any final thoughts on peptide therapy together as couples?
Just do it. I love, I mean, I love that we're doing it together. I think it's
Mhm.
fun. Obviously, we have our own personal journeys that we're on, but we get to share those journeys together. And I think that's the commonality that really makes it cool is that we're doing something together. And we get to talk about those results and share what we're doing. And like Kayla was saying, I'm not on the same ones she's doing. I don't have any, fortunately, I don't want to lose any weight, but we get to share the things that we get to do together, and I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I do too. And I think that as we come into midlife, it looks different for all of us. We're empty nesters. We have a couple kids left in college, everybody else is out. Uh, Most in our journey in this age bracket have older children. Your marriage starts to look different. I think that you can grow apart or grow together. And I think it's a tenuous time. I think that you have to pay attention to that. And it feels really good to be on a journey together that just brings us even closer. And it really has. I mean, the struggle was real. I'm not gonna lie, the struggle was real, but coming through the other side of it and being able to just be open and share where I was and then to have this experience together and feel so good is it's been really fun.
Fantastic. And Kayla, where can people find you online?
KaylaJohnsonFitness.com or on Instagram, Kayla Johnson Fitness.
And we see Mike on there a lot too, which is really
You
fun.
see,
So thank you,
yep.
Mike, for being
I'm
part
a
of it.
guest, I'm a guest star every once in a
Yeah,
while.
guest star.
So good to connect with you guys today. I'm going to have you back on. We're going to be talking about this again. And I really appreciate you guys sharing your story. This has been the Peptides for Women podcast, where we've sat down with Kayla and Mike Neal and talked about their peptide journey, how it strengthened their marriage, their personal lives, and made them happier during this transition time. Thank you for being here with us, and we'll see you next time on the Peptides for Women podcast.